Bagram Air Base, Geography, History, and International Significance.
Welcome back to our in-depth series on Afghanistan's remarkable geography, proudly presented by the Mother International Institute of Education, MyEd. Join us for the next installment. Subscribe, follow along, and support our programs so we can continue bringing you stories from the heart of Asia.
Introduction. In this session on Afghanistan studies, we turn to one of the most important and enigmatic military bases in the world, Bagram. This base is inseparably tied to the modern history of Afghanistan. Bagram is not merely a military airfield. It has been the stage for the confrontation of global powers, from the Soviet Union to the United States of America and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. Since the mid-20th century, Bagram has been one of the principal incentives for major powers to intervene in Afghanistan. Drawing on authoritative Russian and English sources, this report examines in detail the geographical location, historical background, infrastructural capacities, major security transformations, and the wide-ranging impact of Bagram on regional and international relations to present a comprehensive and multidimensional picture of this part of Afghanistan's geography. Geographical location of Bagram. Bagram lies at an elevation of 1,570 meters above sea level in Parwan Province, approximately 50 kilometers north of Kabul, on the southern slopes of the Hindu Kush Mountains. This geographical position situates it at the junction of the Central Plains with the Selang Mountain passes and the northern routes of Afghanistan. Its proximity to Kabul, access to major highways, and oversight of communication routes to Central Asia have made Bagram a natural and strategic crossroads in the geography of Afghanistan. Geology of Bagram. Bagram Airfield is built upon an alluvial plain formed by the deposits of the Gorband and Panjshir rivers. These relatively flat alluvial soils provide a stable foundation suitable for the construction of long runways and heavy infrastructure. The combination of dry soil, limited rainfall, and consolidated sediments has created conditions that, from an engineering perspective, reduce the cost of maintenance and operation of air facilities and allow for continuous flight activity throughout the year.
Geopolitical importance domestically. Due to its central location north of Kabul and on the southern slopes of the towering Hindu Kush, Bagram Air Base plays a pivotal role in controlling Kabul and in providing access to both northern and southern Afghanistan. This position enables the coordination of aerial and logistical operations in the very heart of the country.
Geopolitical importance, regional. From a regional perspective, Bagram is located about 400 kilometers from the Chinese border and, according to reports, only an hour's flight from the Lop Nur nuclear site in Xinjiang. This proximity underscores the base's significance in intelligence monitoring and in overseeing developments in East and Central Asia. Furthermore, its distance to New Delhi is approximately 1,000 kilometers, while Islamabad lies only 370 kilometers away, figures that demonstrate Bagram's capacity to exert direct influence over South Asia.
Geopolitical importance. Transregional. At the transregional level, Bagram is about 740 kilometers from the Iranian border in Herat province and nearly 650 kilometers from Tashkent, the capital of Uzbekistan. This geographical span shows that the base lies at the intersection of three geopolitical spheres: Central Asia, South Asia, and the Middle East, a position that has made it a strategic hub for both regional and global powers.
How and why was Bagram established? 1950s to 1960s. Bagram Air Base was constructed in the 1950s within the framework of military cooperation between Afghanistan and the Soviet Union. Ostensibly, the Soviets aimed to strengthen Afghanistan's air infrastructure and to establish a strategic foothold in the heart of Asia. However, Russian sources indicate that from the outset, Bagram was conceived as a heavy-capacity military airfield, in fact, exceeding Afghanistan's domestic needs. Bagram during the Soviet War, 1979 to 1989. With the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in December 1979, Bagram became the principal center of Soviet air and logistical operations. The base played a central role in supporting Soviet forces, transferring equipment, and conducting airstrikes. Throughout the 10 years of war, Bagram evolved into one of the busiest and most important military installations in the region.
After the Soviet withdrawal, 1989 onward. Following the Soviet withdrawal in 1989, Bagram Airfield served as a defensive stronghold for the People's Democratic Government and as a support base for operations against the Mujahideen insurgents. However, with the gradual retreat of Soviet forces and the advance of the Mujahideen, the base came under repeated rocket and artillery attacks and sustained heavy damage. Ultimately, with the fall of Kabul in 1992, control of Bagram passed to the Mujahideen, although its military structures were severely degraded. Following the Soviet withdrawal in 1989, Bagram Airfield served as a defensive stronghold for the People's Democratic Government and as a support base for operations against the Mujahideen insurgents. However, with the gradual retreat of Soviet forces and the advance of the Mujahideen, the base came under repeated rocket and artillery attacks and sustained heavy damage. In 1992, control of Bagram passed to the Mujahideen. Ultimately, with the fall of Kabul to the Mujahideen, its military structures were severely degraded. 2 decades of Bagram's expansion. Following the September 11, 2001 attacks and the launch of the U.S. Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan, Bagram once again became central to military developments. In late 2001, U.S. forces and NATO allies, in cooperation with the Northern Alliance, took control of Bagram and initiated the reconstruction of its infrastructure. The strategic importance of Bagram in securing logistical lines, conducting air operations against the Taliban and al-Qaeda, and controlling Afghanistan's airspace was unparalleled.
Facilities. Bagram also served as a central hub for drone and intelligence operations, playing a critical role in core counterterrorism (CT) missions. The headquarters of the U.S. 455th Air Expeditionary Wing and a major support base for Special Operations Forces were located there. According to many analysts, Bagram became a symbol of Western presence and power projection in Afghanistan and Central Asia. From this base, F-16 fighter jets and MQ-9 Reaper drones were launched. It functioned as a vital artery for logistics and medical evacuation. Even the United Nations relied on its facilities during times of crisis.
Withdrawal and fall. In the final years of Western presence and during the process of U.S. and NATO withdrawal, Bagram became the focal point of diverse political and security debates. The formal handover of the base to the Afghan government in the summer of 2021, amid the hasty U.S. withdrawal, marked the beginning of acute security disorder and a power vacuum. The Taliban quickly seized control of Bagram after the departure of American forces, and the base remains under their control today, although evidence suggests it is used only in a limited and primarily protective capacity. The base in Western military doctrine. Bagram had become, in effect, an Achilles heel for the Taliban and radical groups. As long as the base remained operational, the capture or fall of Kabul was, in the words of Western officials, nearly impossible. In practice, the reduction of Bagram's operations was interpreted as a key indicator of the evaporation of Western resolve and of political and military retreat. Its fall to the Taliban in the summer of 2021 marked the beginning of Afghanistan's rapid and dramatic transformations. Bagram as a U.S. lever and NATO logistics hub. Bagram evolved into a hegemonic instrument of U.S. political power, both within Afghanistan and across the wider region. American access to such a central base not only enabled rapid military operations, but also sent a clear message to regional rivals such as Russia, China, and Iran that Washington could project air power into the heart of Asia within hours. For NATO, Bagram functioned as a logistical hub and a coordination center among European partners, Canada and Australia. The presence of Allied forces symbolized multinational cooperation and demonstrated the coalition's determination in confronting terrorist and insurgent threats. Many confidential meetings, intelligence exchanges, and even political consultations with Afghan government leaders were conducted in Bagram's secure rooms.
Bagram as a point of regional tension. From the outset, U.S. presence in Bagram provoked concern in Russia and Iran. Russian analysts repeatedly warned of the danger of the NATOization of Afghanistan and the threat posed to Russia's southern borders, particularly in Central Asia, viewing Bagram as a direct challenge to their geopolitical interests. In recent years, China also expressed unease over the U.S. presence at Bagram, perceiving the possible installation of electronic surveillance and data collection infrastructure near its Belt and Road Initiative projects as a strategic threat. Iranian media, likewise, frequently described Bagram as the Achilles heel of Iran's national security, emphasizing that from this location, intelligence and defensive operations against Iran could be intensified.
Bagram as a geopolitical flashpoint. In 2025, amid escalating tensions between the Taliban and the United States, and as some American political figures advocated for the re-seizure of Bagram, whether through military threats or negotiations, the base once again returned to global headlines. Statements by Donald Trump highlighting the importance of regaining control of Bagram prompted sharp verbal reactions from both Russia and the Taliban. Russia explicitly warned that any attempt to re-establish U.S. presence at Bagram would have serious consequences.
Bagram's impact on Afghan security and domestic dynamics. Bagram has consistently been a central point of either stability or instability in northern Afghanistan and the capital. If the West defended this operational base, most insurgent attacks in neighboring provinces were thwarted. However, following the U.S. withdrawal, internal conflict, the renewed Taliban offensive, and the eruption of security chaos, particularly north of Kabul, accelerated dramatically. Many development hubs and infrastructure projects such as the Panjshir Dam and electricity transmission lines were halted or destroyed.
Bagram and the intensification of regional rivalries. After the evacuation of the base, regional actors, including Russia, Iran, and even Pakistan, sought to exploit the power vacuum alongside the Taliban. According to geopolitical specialists, Taliban control of Bagram is not only a threat to their northern adversaries, but also a bargaining tool with China, Qatar, and even Russia for new economic and political concessions. Some Russian sources have suggested that Bagram could, in the future, become a point of convergence for Chinese and Russian intelligence projects.
Current status of the base, from Western evacuation to Taliban control. Following the U.S. decision to withdraw all military forces from Afghanistan in 2021, Bagram fell into Taliban hands. Reports indicate that the Taliban transferred much of the remaining military equipment, logistical assets, and even intelligence resources from the base to their traditional centers of power in the south and southwest. Internationally, in recent years, there have been efforts by the United States, Russia, and even China to either regain control of the base or at least establish some form of intelligence cooperation concerning it.
Future outlook. The persistent security challenges, the turbulent shifts in military hegemony, and the determination of external actors to influence Afghanistan's key political and security processes all demonstrate that Bagram has never been and will never be the endpoint of regional crises. As the rivalry among the United States, Russia, and China continues across Central Asia and Afghanistan, Bagram remains a strategic card in future negotiations and a stage for unfolding geopolitical developments. Conclusion. In conclusion, Bagram Air Base has been not only a hub of military operations, but also a center of political and diplomatic activity, and a mirror reflecting the strategic condition of Afghanistan and the wider region in the face of great power competition. Regardless of which actor ultimately holds its future, the influential and symbolic weight of Bagram will continue to cast a shadow over the security and political architecture of Afghanistan, Central Asia, and beyond.
Closing remarks. This has been a brief account of Bagram, a base that has stood both as a symbol of power and as a sign of Afghanistan's vulnerability. Many questions about this part of Afghanistan's geography remain unresolved. Was Bagram truly built for Afghanistan? And if so, what benefits has it brought to Afghans? Will Bagram once again become an arena of great power rivalry, or is a different destiny awaiting it?
Invitation. The Mother International Institute of Education proudly invites you to join its educational programs dedicated to Afghan girls. These initiatives are designed to foster scientific and cultural empowerment, serving as a foundation of hope and a brighter future for the younger generation. We also call upon you to support the teaching of our mother tongue, for the preservation of language is the preservation of identity and of our shared roots.